Welcome back to another edition of Haas Talks, and joining me this week, the dirt guy, the track guy, Mr. Kenny Bippus, as his granddaughters call him, the Bip. Kenny, thanks for pulling yourself out of the water truck to kind of sit down and chat with me for a little bit.
Yeah, Haas, I only got a few minutes because I got to get back out there.
I know. So we're going to make this short and sweet and kind of just get this out of the way. Kenny, a lot of people around here are starting to know the name, starting to know Kenny Bippus a little bit more and more as the year goes on. The past couple of years, you've kind of been fed to the wolves and become the track prep guy here at Port City Raceway. But for some people that don't know, this isn't your first racing experience. You've been around racing a long time.
Yes. I really got started back in 1968 with my dad.
Man, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that's when we first moved to Tulsa, and my dad was always working on cars. And we moved to Tulsa right across the street from Aaron and Alan Lemons.
Oh, okay.
And that was the first person that I met when I moved to Tulsa was Aaron Lemons.
What a shame.
It was a sad situation.
It was a rough childhood.
It was.
It was a rough childhood. So growing up around your dad working on cars all the time, you just kind of took a liking to it as well. And you guys have done you've done some pretty cool things throughout the years. I mean, 1968, that's a long time ago.
Yes. The first car that my dad built in 1968 was for Charlie Calhoun. The number was 501, and it was a junior modified 6-cylinder. That's what they called them back then in the 60s and 70s.
So do you remember that first time you saw that race car your dad built, or watching him build that? Do you remember that, or do you have like some memories of it?
I was down there every night. Helping him work on it.
That's awesome. So through the years, it kind of snowballed. You meet this guy named Mike Eubanks, become pretty good buddies with him. You guys did some pretty silly things whenever you were younger and whenever you guys were teenagers.
Yes.
Tell me about the time that you guys used to, was it a creeper, like an old creeper that you laid on?
Oh, my gosh.
And you guys dragged that around?
Yeah, that brings back so many memories. We would spend every single weekend at a race shop. It was Gene Boomershine, and they had a race shop, and we would stay up all night Friday night, all night Saturday night, building creepers, whatever we could build, and we would either push them and roll them up ramps and flip them end over end, or we would pull them behind a pickup and flip them off in the grass.
Now, this all took place on, was it Yale?
No, it was at Alsuma.
Where's that at?
Mingo.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's all it was just some old shops out there, but we had a race shop out there, and Stanley Durrett was the super modified driver in that race shop.
Is that the Reds? That's a name that people know from racing around these parts. So I mean, you've been involved with and known a lot of heavy hitters.
Yes.
in the Tulsa racing community. As years go on, as you grow up, you graduate high school, you've played sports and whatnot throughout high school. Your career path led you to ownership of a Shell station.
Yes.
How did that all come about, and how long were you involved in that? Did you have that location there at 41st and Yale?
Well, actually, I worked at McDonald Douglas working on F-15 jet airplanes. I was a structural mechanic.
Okay.
And got laid off and went to work part-time, and it was a Texaco at that time at 41st and Yale. And I worked there for a year, and finally I said, I've got to do something. So I went to the owners and said, I'm either going to buy you out or I've got to find another job.
And how old were you at this time?
I was in my late 20s.
Okay, late 20s. Not very many people in their late 20s are like, go to their boss and like, hey, I'm either going to buy you out or I'm peacing out.
Yes.
As the kids would say today.
Yes. And they said, make me an offer, and they took it.
So here you are, you're late 20s. You finally grow some hair on your chest, and you're like Superman walking in there. Did you think that they were going to say, make me an offer, or were you prepared to leave?
I was prepared to leave. It was just I'd done what I needed to do there, and it was time to move on. Or buy them out and
Make it yours.
Make it mine. And I had big ideas of what to do, and I was there 34, almost 35 years.
So over the course of 35 years, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, were you open?
7 days a week at that time.
Wow.
Yes. And then I finally started closing on Sundays. And it was a full serve, which back then there was 27 full serve stations in Tulsa.
That's where the guy, like, you go to pull up to the pump and ting, 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 the guy runs out to wash your windshield and pump your gas for you.
Exactly. And we had a 2-bay shop. We did everything other than rebuild motors and transmissions, but we did everything else.
Right. All kinds of general maintenance and
brakes, tune-ups,
all that good stuff.
Yes.
Now, over the course of those years, those 34, almost 35 years, how did you see the layout of the land change whenever it came to service, and how did you set yourself apart from those other 27 full-service stations?
Well, over the years, the full service started going by the wayside because full service gas was quite a bit more expensive, and we had self-serve too. And people, the generation started changing. Rather than coming in and telling jokes and talking to your full service gas station owner, they wanted to get in and out as quick as they could. They didn't want to talk to anybody.
Right.
So the self-serve started picking up and taking over. And when I finally left, there was 2 full serves in Tulsa.
And you were one of them?
And I was one of them.
So you always stayed trying to keep that grassroots full serve
Yes.
alive.
Yes.
So after 35 years, what made you want to leave that business? Did you feel like were you too old to keep up, or?
The cars got so hard to work on. You had to have $100,000 worth of computers.
Computers, just to know where to go
Yeah.
or what was wrong.
Yes. So, and I wasn't big enough to make that change.
Right.
And
let's face it, I mean, moving to Tulsa in 1968, let's just put the years together. You're not very tech savvy, are you?
no. I come from Big Springs, Texas.
Is that nearby Lubbock?
Lubbock's in Switzerland, so.
So, Kenny, you sell the station there at 41st and Yale. What was the vision at that time? Were you like full-on retirement? You've got a cabin up in the boondocks where you barely get any type of reception. You have a nice layout of the land there to go hunting and just be a redneck.
Yes.
And just live the life,
and
right?
That was my plan. I was going to spend over half my time at the cabin working on my land because we have great deer hunting, great turkey hunting. I built 2 ponds, great fishing, and I was going to spend over half my time there with my wife and my grandkids and whoever wanted to come up. But that didn't last long.
That didn't last long.
No.
You're not much of the retiring type. You're like, I feel like you're on the go all the time.
I am.
So a year ago, 2 years ago, I meet you out here at the racetrack for the first time. You come out to help Mike Eubanks do something. I forget what it was exactly, but I remember the first day I'm like, oh, great, here we go, another old guy. and you roll out of the truck with your shell sweater on, sweatshirt, and you got your little water pail, and you run circles around me. Yeah. You run circles around all of us, and I mean, that's just an honest opinion. The dude still gets it done. Like I said, you and Mike were good friends throughout school and doing all that fun stuff of pulling each other and trying to kill each other on the creepers or whatnot. But Mike called you out here for a little bit of help, and you started working kind of part-time, and then we saw you more often, and now with new ownership, Shane Stewart and Jen coming over, you have kind of been deemed, and you are, the track guy. You're the guy that does the track prep, but you had no knowledge of any of this whenever you were kind of starting off. You knew how to drive a tractor.
Yep.
You could operate a Bobcat pretty good.
Yep.
But as far as tilling and knowing the lay of the land and when to water and what to water and how much water and where to water and how to water and why to water, you had no idea.
No clue whatsoever.
So how did you learn all that stuff?
It was Mike Ross. Mike Eubanks put me in and I did all my stuff that Mike wanted me to do. We were fixing up stuff around the track, and then it moved on to helping Mike Ross, and I really enjoyed working in the dirt.
Right.
And Mike would just have me doing things he knew I couldn't screw up.
Right.
And then if I did screw him up, Mike would go, "It's dirt, Kenny.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. We can fix it." I mean, I'd take it personal,
Right.
and just feel like a lowlife. But Mike Ross, he never got pissed off. He never gave up on me, and he would show me exactly what to do.
And over the years, it's like you went from just run the mister to, hey, run the tiller for me, to run the box blade, to move this and move that. A lot of people don't realize the work that it takes for the track prep.
Right.
On a weekly basis. Kind of walk us through a typical week as far as the track prep goes.
Well, usually, finally Shane started giving me Mondays off.
Oh,
so
you get Mondays off?
Yes, I'm
hey,
sorry.
Hey, Shane, we need to talk about this because I need Mondays off too. If Kenny gets Mondays off, I need Mondays off too.
I'm sorry,
just a middle
Shane.
note.
I'm sorry, Shane.
Just a middle note. So you get Mondays off.
Yes, and then Tuesday we come in and grade, and then I start watering and I'm tilling the top, and it's just a process every single day, and that's an advantage that I have over the previous. With Mike Ross, he had a full-time job.
Yeah.
But he still took time, and he got the track just unbelievable all the time. But I can take a full 6 days.
And kind of massage it a little bit more.
Exactly. And I don't do it all in 1 or 2 days.
Right.
I do it daily. I have my routine every week.
So Tuesdays, you said you grade. For those that don't know, what all does that entail? Because that's just not just taking the road grader out there and moving dirt around and shuffling it around, which Shane drives the grader.
Yes.
But that takes you going out, you put some water on the track, right?
Yes, I do that before Shane even gets here.
We mark different spots on the racetrack.
Yes, because sometimes we'll get a hump or a hole or something like that, and I will already have those all pointed out for Shane. And then, but then he'll grade, I'll water, and then a lot of times I have to till what he grades up.
Right.
And like you said, it's not just moving dirt. You grade up, you grade back down, you grade up, you grade back down, you grade back up, then you smooth it. I mean, and then you sheep's foot. There's a lot to it. And I always call Mike Ross an artist.
Right.
Because what he does is artwork. It's just like a bricklayer.
Yeah.
Not everybody can do that. It's an art.
And not everybody can be so smooth and quick.
Exactly.
It's kind of like reading the racetrack for race car drivers. You guys do the same thing week in and week out on Saturdays. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesdays not so much, but Thursdays and Fridays you're constantly tilling. You're making sure the infield's smooth as glass and looking nice and pretty, and your concrete's clean and everything else. The things that other folks may not notice, but right whenever we walk in, oh my gosh, that looks like a mess. You get after it and you clean it up. Saturdays are a little bit different. We're filming this on a Saturday right now as we speak. You just got done putting a load of water on the track.
Yes.
Current time is like around 1:30 or so.
Yeah.
So talk me through Saturdays from lunch, because we eat lunch about 12:30, 1 o'clock. We have some lunch, and then it's from there it seems like you're on the go.
Yes.
So you have time regiments and everything else of when to till, when to water, when to start packing so that you can be ready by 6:20 whenever I say, Kenny, I want the track ready. I want cars on the track by this time. So just walk us through that process, because it's not an easy process.
Well, and then it's kind of different every Saturday because of the weather. If it's hot, it's a certain time that you water. You got to watch the racetrack, see what it's doing. And I get here between 7:30 to start watering.
So you don't show up at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock?
No.
You're here all day?
Yes. But so you watch the racetrack. Like today, it's cool, but it's sunny, but the wind is blowing.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to put a little bit more water because the wind on one end of the track, because the wind's hitting that track and drying it out real quick, because we do not want dust on the racetrack.
Right.
So it's different every week. You just have to play it by ear. Kenny,
you said something earlier on in this interview that you take everything to heart and you take it pretty much personal.
Yes.
Because you do put so much time into it, kind of like myself and our broadcast and everything else that we do here. You and I are considered the full-time employees.
Right.
A lot of people may not know it, may not realize it, but we do put in at least 60 to 80 hours a week, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more, depending on what projects we have going on. For those people that seem to be on a regular basis complaining about the racetrack, what kind of advice or a little tidbit into what it takes to do it would you give them? And that's the main reason why I wanted to kind of sit down and chat with you and have this episode of Hoss Talks, is because a lot of people don't realize the amount of work that goes into it. It's not like you're out there going, oh yeah, I want a crappy track tonight. I want everybody complaining and running around the bottom and choo-choo train and everything else.
Well, when we do have a crappy track, which I don't think we have in the last quite a few weeks, but when we did, or had a hole or something in a turn, I took it very personal, and I mean, it just killed me.
Right.
And because I'm not a perfectionist, but I'm pretty close.
Right.
And when something goes wrong, it affects my personality.
Mm-hmm.
And when people say, well, you're ruining the track, or you need to till it deeper, you need to till it less, you need to water more, you need to water less, you need a berm. Come out here with me during 1 week, and then they can tell me how to do it.
Well, that's kind of, put yourself in the shoes, knowing that it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of different knowledge, even throughout the race night. So once hot lap starts and heat races are going and rolling, you're not kicked back in a recliner anywhere. You're still right there in the middle of the infield watching everything.
Yes.
And kind of taking mental note as to what you need to tailor to, what you need to kind of touch up here and there whenever you get a chance to.
Yeah, during hot laps, I'm running back and forth from turn 3 and 4 to turn 1 and 2 and seeing what the track is doing. Because sometimes I may need to till, or I may need to box blade, I may need to mist, whatever. And I can always usually tell that during hot laps what I'm going to have to do through the night.
Kenny, throughout the years, you've experienced a lot. You've done a lot of different things. You've got to have a solid, positive attitude all the time, no matter what it may be. You hardly get upset unless you lose your phone or you lose your glasses. Then you're getting upset.
That's all this week.
That's all this week. 99.9% of the time, you're an upbeat, positive guy. And like I said, you've experienced a lot of things throughout life, from owning your own business to being a crazy teenage kid to having kids to having grandkids. In closing, do you have a piece of advice that you would give people that just every day that might be able to help somebody, or a piece of advice that might speak volumes to somebody?
Owning my own business and working for somebody first and then working for somebody now, give 100%, no matter whether you own it or whether you work for them. And if you do that, the rewards will come. And always try to do everything with a smile on your face.
There you go.
There's no reason. Life's too short to go around and be just mad all the time. And you make more friends with a smile.
There you go. Race fans, Kenny Bippus, you give it 100% all the time. Do it with a smile. You're going to make more friends that way. And you heard it right here on Hoss Talks.
Performance Electronics, custom electronic solutions. From design to manufacturing, let us put your ideas in motion and become your company's full-service electronics manufacturing experts. Performance Electronics.